Happy Tuesday, guys, and welcome in here to PuckTime, powered by WagerTalk. I am Andrew McGinnis, and I have Carmine Bianco and Lawrence Presman with us here today to break down some great games. Knights and Maple Leafs getting some revenge here. Second meeting between these two teams in 2 weeks. We have the Hurricanes and Wild and the Kings and Flames going head-to-head, as well as best bets at the end of the show, and all kinds of great promo stuff to get into as well on the show for today. But we'll waste no time and dive right into game number one. Carm, what are your thoughts here? Vegas and Toronto, this time in Ontario. What do you have?
Time live from Ontario, Andrew. Listen, we're going to talk after this game and after you guys have chimed in about yesterday, because I wanted to jump into this game right off the bat, because this is you can say what you want to say about every single game on the board tonight. This is the marquee game of the night. Last year's Stanley Cup champions against the hottest team in the NHL. I kind of hate saying that, but they are the hottest team in the NHL, and they're playing extremely well. Off screen, you guys can't see it, but the Prez is flexing right now while drinking his coffee because the Leafs are doing so well. Listen, they went into Colorado, and I think it was a spot in which people thought third game in 4 nights for the Leafs on this road trip, and you were going to bet Colorado, and the Leafs just played phenomenal hockey in that one as well too. This team is playing well. They're playing well defensively. They're playing well offensively. They're finding goals. Can they carry that through the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs? We know they're a very good regular season team. We know each and every year, and that's why I think myself and the Prez, we had regular season bets on the Leafs, whether it's points, whether it's to win the division, and they're just playing very good hockey right now. I don't know of another team who is well. Whether they tinker with this team prior to the maybe this win streak stops them from doing something before the trade deadline, which could hinder them in the playoffs. It's one of those ones where you look at it and Aiden Hill is confirmed. It's likely going to be Samsonov for the Leafs. He's playing extremely well. Also, Hill, we know have struggled, but that also has to do with this team is struggling right now for Vegas in front of them. So, and I get it, Stone injured, Eichel injured. You got to have your guys there. Are the Leafs are the Leafs worth Lane minus 165, minus 170 off a road trip? I don't want to do it. I just think the price is a little high. I started looking at the total, and I would lean to the under in this one because I think the Leafs returning home play a solid defensive game. And listen, minimizing the Avalanche or keeping them to 3 goals, keeping the Vegas Golden Knights. That game was 7-3 in Vegas. So Vegas hasn't forgotten coming to Toronto what the Leafs did to them. They just literally blew them out. The game was over before it had even started. This is a Leafs team playing extremely well right now. You could look at the team total, and I haven't. Andrew, you're much better at having these lines. I would have to figure the Leafs are -3 or 3.5 on the team total. You got to find a way to play Toronto. If you like Toronto, you can take them on the puck line, I would think. I don't want to lay the 165. I don't want to play regulation because that's where bets sort of go to die. I have to believe that Vegas is going to be better tonight, but it's going to be tough to say this. I'm leaning under in this game. And considering the fact that these two teams just played a game in which 10 goals were scored 5 days ago, taking the under seems like a crazy thing to do, but I will use a different team to explain why. The Tampa Bay Lightning lost 9-2 at home. Look at their last couple of games on the road. Sometimes when you play bad at home, the best thing to do is get on the road and reset yourself. And I think Vegas resets themselves defensively more than anything else. And I'm a big fan of Aiden Hill, so I'm going under in this one. And I will let Prez talk about his beloved Leafs now and tell us whether I am right or wrong with this total.
Guys, thanks for having me. Thanks for moving me to Tuesdays. It's greatly appreciated. As I mentioned, in case people wanted to know, I'm back riding in the mornings, and Wednesdays just weren't working for me. So I swapped, and I appreciate you guys accommodating me. Okay, look, so I played a 5% play on the over in this Vegas Leafs game last time they played last week in Vegas. It obviously went over by a lot. The Leafs looked incredible. The Leafs look incredible right now. This is the hottest team in the league and a team that is scoring at will. This is a terrible spot for Toronto. No chance I'm betting Toronto here. Minus 170 for a team that is coming home from not only a West Coast road trip, but one that went on for a long time and one that ended with playing, a potential Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche team. This has the making of a complete poopster for the Leafs tonight. The fans are going to be loud as hell. They want to thank them for the great road trip. Everyone's going to be super excited, and the Leafs are going to lay an egg. I like the under in this game, which is crazy. I wrote in my analysis on the Colorado over. I've played the Leafs over for my clients 3 or 4 games in a row. I wrote I'm going to continue playing the Leafs over until it stops going over. Well, I decided I'm going to not play the Leafs over because it's going under. I'm with you, Carm. I think this game is going to be a completely counterintuitive hockey game. I just don't think we're going to get a great effort from the Leafs tonight. And I'll tell you, I think if they lose this game, they might be a great bet for their next one. I'm nervous as hell. I would take Vegas in this game. I think there's value there, and I would take the under.
Vegas and the under, and obviously a successful road trip, a great win over the Avalanche, that dominant victory, that catch the over for Prez. Prez, always nice when you can catch a 5% play with one team getting you over the total on their own. That was the Leafs for you. So 7-3, that one's always nice. Guys, when I look at the roster right now for the Golden Knights,
yeah, it's terrible.
It's not looking great, right? It's not looking great. And I really feel that sometimes you just got to keep it simple and look towards the guys that are going to have to carry the load. If Vegas has any sort of success, it's going to be because Jonathan Marchessault has a good game. Now, the crazy thing is, I'd say he's their best player right now, top 2 players in their team. His point prop is minus 130. And I'm going through the lineup here. Top line on this team is Breeson, Carlson, Marchessault. Then the second line is Barbashev, Stevenson, and Amadio. I mean, the fact of the matter is, out of all those players, Marchessault is clearly the top guy. And yet his player prop to score a point, assist, or goal is minus 130. That one's very intriguing to me. He's recorded at least a point in 7 of his last 10 games. But I agree with the flat spot here for the Leafs. I'm going to split my bet on the over 2.5 team total goals for the Knights and split it with the half bet on the money line for the Golden Knights here in this one. It's difficult. There's obviously going to be clearly a revenge factor. And sometimes I will say this because I it hasn't been a good year for me, but one thing that has worked this year is when 2 teams play each other in a short period of time, whatever the first total was, usually you do the exact opposite of that one. And I'm sure defense is going to be a key for a team like Vegas with the lack of offense right now from them. But at the same time, against this Leafs team, you're kind of forced into playing fast-paced hockey. So I'll look towards the team total over 2.5, small play on the money line for Vegas. But I think the best bet on this game is Marchessault to record a point at minus 130 odds. Carm?
Well, Andrew, I like it. I had mentioned the Leafs total, and you sent me a message, so I appreciate that from you. The Leafs team total in this one is 3.5 minus 102, so it's not even a lot of vig on it, which kind of tells you, because normally you see team totals and you see 3.5 minus 140, minus 145, minus 150. So I think even the books tend to agree that the under in the game overall might be the way to go. But I just want to talk before we get into the next game, Andrew, which is the Carolina Minnesota game, about yesterday. I'm a big fan of, in the sense of looking at not only the box scores, but looking at the analytics from yesterday's games, because I had a bad day in the NHL. Not only that, our ladder challenge failed. Not only did I fall off the ladder, I fell off the ladder into a valley. Dude, I feel like a porcupine in a balloon factory. That literally, I popped everything the wrong way. But you look at it, the Senators game finishes 6-3 for Ottawa. The expected goals in that game were essentially equal, 2.16 to 1.96. The over in the Islanders Stars game, complete expected goals were 6.45. It finishes 3-2 in OT. And then the Boston game, I had the under in the Boston game. I literally went to sleep at the end of the second period. It was 2-1 because I said to myself, I can't stay up and watch a game lose or possibly lose. I'm just going to wake up in the morning and see where I landed on this one. And they get 2 goals in the last 5 or 6 minutes or 5 minutes of the game to send it to OT, and it finishes 3-2. So the under 4-2. So the 4-3. So the under win to die. We had a lot of messages in today's chat that are saying, be a goldfish. Prez, do you know why we say be a goldfish? You remember Ted Lasso? You didn't watch Ted Lasso.
No, but I'm just thinking, thank God you weren't the balloon in that factory.
Yeah. No, it's the porcupine in the balloon factory. Be a goldfish means, because goldfish have no memory. So you need to forget what happened to you yesterday and move on to today. And that is what be a goldfish is. Because if you allow the ill wills of the last 3 or 4 days or whatever to fester in your mind, it can affect you going forward. So you need to be a goldfish and start anew each and every day.
Well said, Carmen. And guys, I want to speak to strategy right now. Handicapping the NHL from a strategic perspective as we move into the last sort of 25, 23 games, 30 games. The biggest piece of advice I have to give the listeners is don't overthink this. Don't try to be a hero. And what I mean by trying to be a hero is focus on how teams have defined themselves. The data is the data. Pittsburgh games go under. Winnipeg games go under. Dallas games go over. Focus on the identity of teams, and especially after they lose a game. If Winnipeg goes and loses 2 in a row, the third game is going under, because that is who they are, that is how they've defined themselves, and that is how they play their best hockey. In order for the Leafs to win, the game goes over. In order for Dallas to win, the game goes over. If Pittsburgh wants to go into Vancouver tonight and beat Vancouver, it is likely it'll be a low-scoring game. If Vegas wants to beat Toronto tonight, it is likely it is going to be a low-scoring game. Focus on how teams have defined themselves to date. Don't be a hero and play the data. Sorry.
I like that a lot, Prez. A lot of it goes to just don't reinvent the wheel, right? Same thing, see what you're seeing and just bet on it. And Prez, let me ask you something, because I know we don't want to get too off track, but you and I were meaning to talk over the weekend. So I'll ask you this now. I was talking yesterday about the LA Kings, right? I had a 5% on them, and they lost 7-0 to the Buffalo Sabres. They weren't even in the game at all. And then 6 of their next 7 games, they won. And I said on the show, how many games do you guys think I bet on the Kings after they lost my 5%?
Yeah, 0.
You know what I mean? So that's something that I think comes with time. And I have to not be, I guess, for lack of better words, pissed off at teams. But how do you not stay mad at a team for screwing you over? You know what I mean?
Okay, it's such a great question, Andrew, because I bet a lot of totals. My money line record is 27-12 on the year. 27-12. I had a money line bet last night on the Edmonton Oilers. I actually have a money line bet tonight for my clients, but they're rare. I mostly bet totals. And in keeping with what I was saying, you got to hold true to your beliefs. These teams, the Winnipeg Jets, have gone over the total 4 of their last 5 games. This is a team that I've been betting under day in, day out, day in, day out. Now, does that mean that all of a sudden this Winnipeg Jets team is going to go over the total the next 4 of their 5? The chances are more likely they'll go under the next 4 of their 5. If you think Philadelphia is a bet against team, bet against them. Obviously, they're going to win games. They're not going to lose 10 in a row. So you obviously felt that the LA Kings was a bet on team moving forward. All you did was took them in the wrong game. But your handicap was correct. Your thought process was correct. You just had shrinkage of the ballage, and you stopped doing what you knew was right in the first place. And this is the advice I give everybody. If you're going to lose, lose. It happens. But lose your way. Stick with your guns. Vegas is going to be an under team from here till the end of the season. Bet them under every night. Who is scoring on that team? And hold on, Carm. And if they go over tonight, don't sit there and say, "Oh, I was wrong." You were right about the LA Kings. You just got mad at them, and there's no reason to be mad at a team. We're trying to make money here. You know, you were right, Andrew. You should be 7-1, 7-2 in your last 9 games.
And listen, Prez, I get what you're saying is, and I'll see sometimes in the chat, and it's from I love the guys in the chat because they share info. They're putting up their plays, and then they're showing up the next day, whether the plays win or lose. They're just sharing info, and they'll do it in our comment section below after the video's been posted. I like this. I'm going to play this 3-team parlay or 4-team parlay, or I'm playing this. The ones that always get me, because my friends do the same thing, is a good team that loses a game or 2 in a row. And all of a sudden, it's just like, okay, Tampa Bay, 4-game homestand. They win the first game, and then they lose the next 3. And in those 3 games, they allowed 18 goals. And all I hear is Tampa Bay is trash. They're horrible. I'm never betting them again. They go on the road, they win their next 2 games and put in fantastic defensive performances, and they'll close it out tonight in Philadelphia. Is you have to, you can't just look at sort of good teams, and whether it's the total or whether it is the side, and if they lose a couple in a row, just say I'm off of them. You could be off of them, but don't make that 1 or 2 losses deter you from playing this team if overall they are a very good team, because it's ebbs and flows in this business, but it's ebbs and flows for hockey teams. We know Tampa Bay does this. They go through streaks where they win 3 in a row, they lose 3 in a row. Their objective is just to get to the playoffs. Our objective is trying to bet on them to win money, and they don't care whether they win or lose money for us. They care whether they win or lose for their team in the standings. So that's the thing, is it's just trying to eliminate the NHL or any other sport is rigged because we lost a bet or you lost a bet. It is not rigged.
The rigging stuff, that I won't even discuss that. Carm, the funny thing is I gave out Tampa Bay as a free pick, all 3 of those losses. And then I was like, screw this shit. Then they went on to win. With that said, I never gave them to my clients, and that's ultimately what matters here. But and then I'll move on. My last piece of advice to everybody, and this is mostly relevant to college basketball, given that there's 6,304 teams. Just bet inside of a few teams. Like if my NHL clients have not touched half the teams in the league. Like literally, I bet the Leafs over almost every night. I've bet Pittsburgh under, Winnipeg under almost every night. It's my clients. It's like a yawn. Oh, Leafs over again. Like I'm probably betting I would say 80% of my bets revolve around 5 teams. Why do I need to bet on every team in the league? Why? The bookmakers have to make lines on every team. Why don't I find 5 or 6 teams and become a total expert on the rhythm of those teams and let the bookmakers worry about all the rest of the damn teams?
Especially total wise, I'd say that's really beneficial, Prez. Like, betting sides, you can catch a good spot here or there with all kinds of teams, but with the totals, you can really get to know those 5 or 6 teams, as you mentioned.
Right.
Guys, before we jump into Minnesota and Carolina, I did want to mention, if you guys have never checked out the Gold Sheet, this is a great, great, great day to do it. The free issue of Gold Sheet Lite today here. You go to wt.buzz/TGS. Download Tuesday's issue of the Gold Sheet Lite for free. Bunch of breakdowns in NBA, college basketball, stats, analysis, recommended plays, all kinds of great info at the Gold Sheet. It's a huge part of WagerTalk's team, so we encourage you guys to check it out. It is free today. Just go to the Gold Sheet page, and you can get all their information. Prez, let's move on. We're going to go to you for your thoughts. We got minus 140 favorites here with Carolina taking on the Minnesota Wild. Total being at 6 in this one. Does anything stick out to you in this game?
Yes, it does, Andrew. And let's start with the fact that on the year, Carolina is 26-31 to the under. Now, does that mean that they're an under team? Have they defined themselves as an under team? No, not this year. It's still too close. It's only 5-game difference. But what they have defined themselves as is an under team over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and especially as it gets closer and closer to playoff time. I look at this and I say, how does Carolina want to win their games? I've already spoken about the fact that Vegas wants to win their games 2-1, 3-1. Winnipeg wants to win their games 2-1, 3-1. Dallas wants to win their games 5-2. Carolina wants to play low-scoring games. They went under 3 in a row. They have gone under the total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 games. 1 push on 6. They have allowed teams to put up 3, 2, 0, 3, 1, and 1. 3 of their last 6 games, 1 goal or less on defense. That's the Carolina that we know. And I want to play to how they are defining themselves. Not an under team on the year, but an under team as the year progresses. Minnesota, this is a team that has put up 5, 4, 3, and 10 in their last 4 games. Those are big, big numbers, but this Minnesota team is not going out there and beating up teams 7-2 on a regular basis. This is another team that is slightly heavy, slightly slower, and would rather play low-scoring games. I'm betting the under in this game, under 6. I think we're going to see a 3-1, 3-2 hockey game.
Prez looking towards a defensive battle here, Carm.
Hold
what
on,
do you think
Andrew,
about this one?
Andrew. Keegan Lamotte. Prez hasn't been seeing the NHL well. So the reason I stopped you there, Andrew, is because this is like our integrity on the line, and this is what we do for a living. And when somebody goes in there and lies and makes total BS up, I have to call it out because I have kids, I have a mortgage, I got bills to pay, and I don't appreciate nonsense. I have won 9 of my last 13 days for my clients in NHL. 14 of my last 19. So that's 14 winning days, 5 losing days. I'm on an 18-8 NHL run. I am 27-12 in NHL moneyline bets. I'm up double-digit units on the season. When I'm not seeing the NHL well, I will let you know, Keegan. Until then, don't come on here and make shit up. Oh, and thank you for allowing me to promote, Keegan. That's all. I just used you to promote.
Carm, what do you think about this game?
Oh my God, Wednesdays used to be so much fun, and now it's Tuesdays. It's
Hey, I'm on my
unbelievable.
best behavior.
Yeah, you are. But I also have a bottle of antacids on my desk here just in case. But listen, with that said, um, I'm going to talk about our live lines for a second because there was no goalies that were confirmed for this game, and there still aren't any goalies that were confirmed. It's supposed to be Kochetkov and Gustafsson in goal. But this line from the opener last night or yesterday, because these lines were out early yesterday, continued to go up on Carolina. They went from minus 140 up to minus 160 prior to us going to air on this show. And now it's down to minus 140. Does that mean people are buying back on Minnesota? Possibly. Or it could be that they are not going to go with Kochetkov and likely go to Spencer Martin in goal tonight. So it's something. While you were talking, I was checking I was checking to see if there's any new news on who the starting goalie could be for tonight. But it's an obvious difference as far as goaltending goes, for going from one to the other. It's always funny because people will say, "Well, Spencer Martin hasn't lost a game since coming to Carolina." Well, he's lost a couple overtime games; those still count as losses. Although you never see it on some of the stat sites because they just show you wins and losses and not OT losses in there. So it's something that if you're going to bet this game, I would not bet it now. I would wait to see who the starting goalies are in this one. And if you guys are seeing anything on any of the sites, feel free to drop it in there. But I'm going to guess the drop in the odds means that not players out for Carolina, but more the goaltending. Andrew, the thing that gets me on this game, and just to get into it quickly, is I didn't understand the line move, regardless of the goalies, going from 140 to 160. I get it. Short-term memory is Carolina on a 2-game losing streak. They lose at home to the Dallas Stars. And I think that was a bad spot for Carolina because they came off a playoff type game in which they scored with 20 seconds left to beat the Florida Panthers. That was an unbelievable game. They win 1-0 in that game. Then you have to play Dallas 2 nights later. And the Stars. The Stars are a very good road team. That was a tough one for them. I'm probably more concerned about the fact that they then went into Buffalo, and that was I think that was their 3rd game in 4 nights, and they lose to the Sabres 3-2. But the Sabres are also putting together some wins. Going to Minnesota, and you look at Minnesota's record, and it's hard to say, 7-2-1. Their last 10, they're trying to scrape themselves back in or claw back in to that wild card race. And it should be Gustafsson in goal. I think they're going to go with him a majority of the way. I actually think they're going to move Marc-Andre Fleury at the trade deadline, and you could end up seeing him in Western Canada or in Edmonton, the middle of Canada. But with that said, I think he ends up in Edmonton because they need to make a move. But this line, if it at 160, I would have said I'm going to take Minnesota. I like the value on it. At 140, and you're only getting plus 120 back on Minnesota, I'd probably stay off of the game. It's all about getting that little bit of perceived value, I think. But I agree with Prez. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. That's Carolina. That's their model. That's how they play. And Gustafsson's a very good goalie for Minnesota. So if you get him in goal as well too, and I can't see a reason for him not to be in net, I like the under in this game.
I'll keep it short and simple, guys. I really like Carolina in this spot, and I'm going to go with a little bit of plus money, plus 115 on their team total, over 3.5 to reach the 4-goal mark. I love when certain coaches call out their team, but not every coach. Rod Brendamore, especially, when he calls out his team to the media, when he says a few things that you kind of stick out to you a little bit. 2 bad performances. He mentioned that his team was not mentally there. They did not play well in back-to-back games against both Buffalo and Dallas. They get a Minnesota team in a pretty good spot here, despite them being the road team. Minnesota, quite often, when they do lose games, they are giving up at least 4 goals. I'll take this team here, Carolina, to get to at least 4 at plus 115. Let's keep this train on the tracks here, guys. It was great to get some chatter in, some strategy talk, but we'll keep things going with the LA Kings and Calgary Flames. The aforementioned LA Kings we were talking about earlier, Carm, that I thought was a bet on team moving forward, and they've still looked good since the All-Star break here. And this Calgary team, you and I have both waited for the time to fade this team, waited for the certain games to look for to bet against this Flames team. Is tonight one of those nights, Carm?
I want to say yes. It should be Cam Talbot in goal tonight instead of Big Save Dave. And listen, they played a good game against the Oilers, but you cannot give the Oilers power plays. You cannot make mistakes in the defensive zone. There was one, I think, where there was a giveaway, and the giveaway goes right onto Connor McDavid's stick in LA's defensive zone, and he just finds Zach Hyman, who one times it into the net and scores for his 5th game in a row. Zach Hyman, man, imagine that guy in a Leafs uniform. But with that said, sorry, Prez. Listen, this is I still believe this is a very good Kings team. I would lean again, and I know I'm throwing out a ton of unders, but I would probably lean to the under in this one, just because of the fact that the Kings have been playing better of late, and it's because they've been playing a more defensive game of late. I think the Kings' style of play is defense first, offense second. Protect your defensive zone, get it out, and then try and score. When they weren't doing that, they were getting pelted and pelted badly. But of late, you look at their last, let's say, even their last 5 games: 2-1 over Pittsburgh, 5-1 over Columbus. Okay, you can say the Columbus one. They lose to Nashville, 4-1, another game that stays under the total. They beat the Ducks 3-2. Again, it's the Ducks. You can look at it that way. And then they lose to Edmonton 4-2. On the show, yesterday's show, I liked the under in that game, and I fully expected to lose that one because they pulled their goalie with 3 minutes left, and the score is 4-2. No empty net goals. If you had over 6.5, you must have been dying watching that 3 minutes of empty net.
Oh
I'm
my
going to go the
God.
under here just because Calgary has strung 3 games together. And I talked about fading them over a 12-game stretch. I've only tried to fade them once over that stretch, and that was the game against Boston, I think, and they won that game. I'm picking and choosing my spots with them. So since I said fade Calgary, I'm 1-1 fading them. I won with the Detroit. I lose with the Bruins. I'm going to fade them here again. I'm going to take the Kings, and I'm going to take the under. Prez?
Carm, I was on Edmonton last night, and so I watched the entire game. Actually, it was a really, really good hockey game, and I was very impressed with the LA Kings penalty kill. They have not allowed 2 goals in their penalty kill unit has not allowed 2 goals in a game all year long. That Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 4th goal was absolutely stunning, but it was a defensive meltdown by the Kings. That goal should never have happened. It was a 2-on-2 situation. I like the under in this game, Carm. I don't think the Kings are as good a team. Also, what's the injury status on Kempe? He did leave the game yesterday at the end of the game, and I am unaware of what his injury status is right now. He's important to that team. But I agree. I look at the under in this game. Even though Calgary has scored 6 goals twice in the last 3 games, this is not a team that is going out there and scoring a whole ton. They've also put up a duck twice in their last 6 games. So, I think Calgary gets 2 goals maybe tonight. And as for the Kings, defensively, this team has played outstanding. Even though they let in 4 last night by Edmonton, they did not play horribly. They've allowed 1 goal in 3 of their last 6 games. That's incredibly impressive. Calgary is due for an offensive letdown. I agree with you. I like the under, and I have zero opinion on the side, as both of these teams are bet against for me.
And guys, this is going to be my best bet here, and I'm going to lock in the LA Kings here. I like this price quite a bit. And one thing nice about when you're trying to find a team to bet on or bet against, You can't wait until a team has lost 5 or 6 games in a row to start betting against them. The same thing we always say for a team when they're trying to bet on them. You can't wait for them to just have won all kinds of games before you jump on board. Although this Calgary team has been performing at a good level, they are playing well. They're getting bailed out by their goaltending on a nightly basis here. And this is an LA Kings team that, as described by both Carmine and Prez, are playing better defensively. Their goaltending has been better. Their penalty killing has been better. So I really like this matchup. To me, it's actually two teams that are very similar, but one is just superior. One just does those little things better. And Prez is right. Kempe is a big loss here, but we're finally starting to see the depth out of this Kings team, and not just the offensive depth, the defensive depth of all the players being responsible in their own end. And that's really the best part about this Kings team. 4 centers that are good at taking draws, that are good in both ends of the rink. And that's what makes this Kings team who they are. So as mentioned, 3 of the last 5 games, they've limited their opponents to 1 or 2 goals. I like this Kings team right now. And sometimes a back-to-back isn't a bad thing. They will not be happy about last night, and they get the chance in the Alberta double, as Carmine says, to get some revenge here, get some bounce back, and take down the Calgary Flames. That's my best bet here, guys. Grab all my plays at WagerTalk.com tonight. 2 4% plays, and looking at a couple 2% plays as well. Over to you, Carm.
Andrew, before I get into like a free play on the show, just a couple things, and I'll throw this one at Prez, but also at you, Andrew. First of all, a great comment from I actually like this idea from FB Coach in our live chat. He's like, I think every day you should pull out, if there's a bunch of, I guess if there's a bunch of people, but pull out one play from the chat that people are talking about and make that the chat play of the day. So we will actually give out the chat play of the day. That sounds good because guys are chiming in all the time. Russell Deck, John Marchese, there's guys chiming in all the time with who they like, UC Panda as well too. And they share information. Sometimes they share analytics and going off on a tangent. One guy, he hasn't commented since, laughed at the fact that we talk about analytics and expected goals. Can you imagine
That's crazy.
not making analytics at least part of your thought process? I guess he just opens up the newspaper, looks at the standings and says, okay, this team's in first, this team's in 9th. I got to take the team in first. That's not how you handicap, but hey, whatever works for you is great. And the second one, Prez, is to you. I saw one comment about Marc-Andre Fleury that I think he said, one of the guys said he won't trade or won't waive his no trade or no move thing. Do you think he would or wouldn't, depending on the team he goes to? Because going from Minnesota, where it's his last season, and if this is Marc-Andre Fleury's last season in the NHL, and Minnesota doesn't make the playoffs, wouldn't you, come trade deadline, want to play for a team like the Edmonton Oilers and have one last run at a Stanley Cup?
You would think, but I mean, dude, what a lot of us don't take into account and is the wives and the kids. I mean, he's in school. The kids are in school. The wife is happy. They have a life. They don't want to be uprooted for 3 months. I mean, well, he's got
have to be.
You're going to say taxes.
Minnesota to Edmonton. Minnesota to Edmonton is what, a 90-minute flight? So it's not that bad.
Okay.
I don't think.
But I'm just saying, there are other things involved in this equation.
Yeah.
But there's if Fleury doesn't accept the trade, let's say there's a trade to Edmonton and he says no, it demonstrates, why he never won a Stanley Cup as a starting goaltender. Losers are like if you don't want to win at all costs, you're not a winner. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Not as a starting goaltender.
And with that said,
not as a Matt Murray won both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's still Stanley Cup. You're on a Stanley Cup winning team.
Yes, he was. So was the guy who tapes the sticks and sharpens the blades.
Hold on. How many? Doesn't Crosby has 3 Stanley Cups, and Fleury was on the team for all 3 of them.
2 of them.
2 of them? Okay.
And he was a backup,
By the
which
way,
means
Andrew,
he did less than the guy who's skating.
by the way,
sharpened the
he got injured in one playoff.
we need to, because we have another show. We have another show at the top of the hour. We need to move on. But how great is that we're about to see in the next week or so, Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby on the ice twice against each other. Two of the greatest guys to play the game. And I'll talk about something else on tomorrow's show. But no soccer today for me. There's some FA Cup games. I really don't like them. I don't want to put out plays that I don't like, so let's forget about that. NHL, I'm going to have a few games up, but I do have a top play. It's a totals play in the NHL. And going back to the start of last year, November 1st or 2 years ago, 2022, 70.8% with 5% totals in the NHL. So hopefully we can hit another one tonight and then be a goldfish and move on to a Wednesday. My free play on the show, I'm going to go to Tampa Bay. I want them to close out this trip. John Cooper, I don't know what he said to the guys, whether you put them on a curfew on this 2-game road trip, but they've looked very good on this road trip. They're in Philadelphia, a team who now are sort of falling down the standings right now, are in 8th. And their losing streak continues. They've lost 4 of the last 5. That one win against the game Chicago. So not the greatest, but it was 2 points. Tampa Bay for me, and I think the market agrees. This one opened up at about -115. It's up to -130 as of taping of this show. Tampa Bay to close out this road trip 3-0 by beating the Philadelphia Flyers before they head home for a homestand. So that's my show best bet. And guys, thanks for tuning in, man. Your everything you guys put in that chat, we absolutely love it. Your opinions, your games, keep on doing it. Prez, what do you got up on WagerTalk?
Carm, I like your Tampa Bay pick. I think Philadelphia is a fade team moving forward. Impressive season. John, the Fonz Tortorella did an incredible job, but this is a team that is now going to shit the bed. I like my best bet for tonight is the under in Carolina and Minnesota. I begged you guys to play my NHL bet yesterday. It was a money line bet. I won it. I beg you guys to play my NHL today. I have 2 plays tonight in NHL, and I almost never have 2 plays. I'm a 1-play man, but tonight it's a menage a trois. I'm very excited. So make sure to grab that. And one of those bets is a money line bet. Also got Wager Talk today coming up and the penalty box segment. Thank you guys so much for having me. And guys, check out that Gold Sheet special. It's free today. And I'm telling you, as one of the owners of Wager Talk, the amount of effort that we put in on the Gold Sheet is incredible. We've got an unbelievably talented team running and working on the Gold Sheet. It is a free download today. Take advantage of that. What is the worst thing that will happen? Just see our work firsthand. So head over to Gold Sheet and take advantage of that. I'm out of here, boys. Lots of love.
Guys, that is Tuesday edition of Puck Time. What was Wednesday is now going to be Tuesday's shows, but some informative information nonetheless. Several plays we like, some good betting information, and of course, best bets. Guys, find all of our favorite plays over at wagertalk.com. Thanks for watching.